From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Welcome to the February 23rd edition of Carolina Week, the student newscast committed to covering the University of North Carolina and the surrounding community. I'm Jacqueline McClary.
And I'm Fred Shropshire. Thank you for joining us tonight. 2 UNC basketball players will remain on the court because their date in court has been suspended indefinitely. A mediation doesn't seem likely. Ed Cota and Terrence Newby were supposed to appear in court Thursday. The two seniors face 3 charges of inflicting serious injury and 2 charges of simple assault stemming from a November 1st incident on Franklin Street.
UNC-Chapel Hill students have a new leader. Student body president-elect Brad Matthews sat down for a one-on-one interview with Carolina Week reporter Lee Skinner.
Robert Bradley Matthews, 2,054. Erica K. Smalley, 1,338. We had a total of 3,392 people vote today.
The wait is over. Now, student body president-elect Brad Matthews has to turn campaign promises into reality. What do you want to accomplish in the first 100 days of office?
I want to beat the tuition increase. I want to start work on the campus calendar. And I want to find out where our student fees are going.
During the campaign, Matthews charged that some student fees are being wasted.
The perfect example, in my opinion, is student legal services. I think that for the services we get, we're paying too much.
Matthews does side with some university officials, however, when it comes to plans to fight the tuition increase.
I think President Broad proposed a very reasonable and sensible plan, and I would like to see the legislature at the very least adopt that, if not a better one for students.
He also stressed the need for a web-based campus calendar.
I think it's the most important thing we can do next year.
Making student government accessible has been a major issue of this campaign. Matthews says as long as he's student body president, there will be an open door policy across campus.
A knock on the door of the kid on the 5th floor of Hinton James, who has not done anything with student government and maybe just, hasn't gotten involved with anything yet, but his opinion and his life, are what we're working to improve.
Many students believe he's ready for the job.
I think Brad will work as hard as he says that he will.
The majority elected Brad, so hopefully Brad will do a good job and keep his campaign promises.
I think he's pretty cut out for the job.
While Matthews doesn't officially take office until April, he says his efforts to fulfill his campaign promises begin now. In Chapel Hill, I'm Lee Skinner, Carolina Week.
Matthews will work with current President Nick Heinke until his April inauguration.
And Residence Hall Association President Robin Yamakawa is starting on meeting her campaign goals. Yamakawa vows to streamline the structure of the RHA to get rid of unnecessary positions. Other goals? To encourage residents to take fire alarms more seriously and to create a link from the UNC website to the current RHA website. Yamakawa also is looking for enthusiastic people to make up her cabinet. Following up on a story we aired in our first edition, new safety laws and initiatives for pedestrians have been set on the UNC-Chapel Hill campus. Even though we learned at an early age to look both ways when crossing the street, on the UNC-Chapel Hill campus, students aren't always so cautious, and sometimes drivers fail to yield. But penalties for not yielding to pedestrians are going to be much stricter now. Drivers will have to be aware of speed limits and pedestrians. Since January 10th, UNC police have issued 119 citations for failure to yield. Officers are also enforcing jaywalking ordinances and urging students to use the crosswalks.
If you've been driving around and needed to stop for gas, you've probably noticed that you're spending a few extra dollars. Gas prices are on the rise, and nobody seems to know exactly how high prices will go. The lowest price around is at this station in Carborough at $1.33 a gallon for unleaded. Other prices are about $1.37 a gallon. Gas prices are the highest since the 1991 Persian Gulf War. So other transportation, such as walking, biking, or taking the bus, may be your best budget bet. And new taxes have some customers fuming about higher prices for cigarettes. This is the amount one smoker paid for a carton of cigarettes at Ken's Quickie Mart in Chapel Hill. On New Year's Day, the federal government raised the price of a pack of cigarettes 10 cents. Since then, many state and local governments have followed suit, further draining the wallets of frustrated smokers. The 10-cent tax adds about $1 in consumer cost. That's because Quickie Marts like Ken's must buy their cigarettes from wholesalers. That increases prices in response to the tax. Also, the current wave of litigation against tobacco companies results in increased cigarette costs to pay legal fees.
Just days after the state university system of Florida eliminated affirmative action, celebrity lawyer Johnnie Cochran came to Chapel Hill to speak out about it. Cochran raised the question, could UNC be next? Here's Carolina Week's Stephanie Maxwell with the answer.
Country, colleges and universities eliminating affirmative action in admissions policies. It's a trend that guest speaker and famed trial lawyer Johnnie Cochran finds unsettling and unjust.
We've got to have the courage to stand up and talk about the need for these programs. If America is to be the great nation that it must become, we need programs because we do not have a society that's a true meritocracy where things are done based upon what's fair and what is right.
Cochran insists that the racial climate on college campuses demands a need for affirmative action.
This failure or refusal to recognize the pervasiveness of racism explain why many white Americans are demanding that black Americans pull themselves up by their bootstraps, while refusing to see or acknowledge that the bootstraps don't even exist for many non-whites.
UNC System President Molly Broad is working to keep recruitment of minority students legal. Cochran warned UNC students not to become complacent about this policy.
So have the courage to speak out. If it's not popular to speak out about affirmative action, you do it anyway. If you believe in your cause and believe this is necessary, don't be shunted aside by others.
Students such as Melanie Probisco agree with Cochran's message.
Actually, Johnnie Cochran definitely emphasized education as a way to push for equality in America, that education is definitely needed. And obviously, affirmative action is needed to promote equal access to education.
While Cochran fears that the elimination of affirmative action will place fewer minority students in the classroom, opponents say it's not necessary, and minority students are gaining admission and succeeding on their own merit. In Chapel Hill, I'm Stephanie Maxwell, Carolina Week.
Although UNC-Chapel Hill still uses affirmative action in admissions policies, the university has eliminated minority-only scholarships.
You might think there's plenty of parking for the handicapped, but the temptation to take these spots is starting to edge out the disabled.
Next, Carolina Week's Jason Morrell will tell us what's being done to curb the problem.
A freshman's first day in Phillips Hall is a humbling experience. You need to get to the third floor, but not every stairwell leads you there. Just as in life, take the wrong way up and you won't get anywhere. None of the corridors make sense. It's like being in a huge maze at 7:57 while you're looking for your 8 o'clock class. No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
What is United Cerebral Palsy? Therapy and education. Employment opportunities. Independent living. Family camp. United Cerebral Palsy. Building bridges to independence. You see people, we see promise. Call 800-868-3787.
Many of us have been guilty of it at least once, but you might want to think twice before you park in a handicapped space again. Carolina Week's Jason Morrell shows us why.
In Chapel Hill, a premium disabled drivers like R.J. McCormick say only they deserve.
When I drive in and I see all the handicapped places taken up, it annoys me because I have to go to the other end of the parking lot and then walk back when some able-bodied person is parked in one of the handicapped places.
Officer Paul Thompson of Chapel Hill Parking Enforcement says convenience drives violators to break the law.
A lot of people try to take advantage of it because it's the closest spot to a lot of places. And they will sit there and wait until officers show up to ask them to move. So I don't ask them, I just give them the citation.
In January, North Carolina permitted towns and cities to increase maximum fines from $100 to $250. But here in Chapel Hill, fines have remained the same. Town officials say $100 is steep enough for violators. Chapel Hill resident Edna Clark says the stiffer fines are a good idea.
If this doesn't work, then you've got to do something that has more force in it.
Unless Chapel Hill further enforces current regulations or have stiffer fines for violators, disabled drivers like McCormick will be forced to keep searching.
I saw a young lady pulled into a handicapped place right up there. I asked her, I said, when she walked in, she was galloping. I said, "Are you handicapped?" She said, "No, it's none of your business." So I figured from then on, I better not. I might encounter something I don't want to encounter.
When confronting angry violators, many disabled drivers feel the best route is to simply drive away. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jason Morrell for Carolina Week.
The superintendent of parking for Chapel Hill says the maximum fines for illegally parking in handicapped spaces will not be increased until the town council votes to do so.
An article published by a UNC-Chapel Hill faculty member should concern college athletics programs and students everywhere. Assistant Professor Barbara Bickford wrote the article about college athletes and eating disorders for a sports law journal. Although eating disorders occur in male athletes, Bickford says that there is a higher percentage of eating disorders in the female athletic population. Symptoms of eating disorders include highly competitive behaviors, compulsive exercising, and perfectionist goals. Bickford believes coaches and trainers often ignore the problem despite obvious warning signs. She says making schools liable for an athlete's health could draw more attention to the problem.
There's a legal hook. Then athletic departments, coaches, trainers, administrators couldn't look the other way. They'd have to take responsibility in dealing with those athletes.
Bickford suggests schools set up risk management programs to educate and protect athletic programs and their athletes. The much debated Meadowmount development is underway and running on schedule. The first residents are expected to move into the apartments late this summer and into the residential homes in the beginning of next year. UNC students will be allowed to live in the apartments at a cost of up to $1,300 a month. Meadowmount will include rooms for 400 residential homes. Construction on the houses is set to begin in the spring.
Just like a mother keeps an eye on her children's health, technicians watch the university's computers for any signs of malfunction. Lee Ellen Martz shows us how each campus computer is part of the same electronic body.
Miles and miles of wires and cables connect the university's core computer nervous system in the Information Technology Control Center to each and every campus computer. Beginning in the basement of Phillips Hall, cables fan out from the center's main computers to dorms, libraries, laboratories, everywhere. And inside the center, technicians continually monitor the functions of all computer systems 24 hours a day. They watch for things such as unusual activity at any one switch, how much email is in the queue, and maintenance needs. After hours, someone stands by to take phone calls from dismayed computer users.
ATN Control Center.
Hello, I'm a student here and my computer isn't working. Can you help me?
The center does exist to help people with technical difficulties, but more importantly, by monitoring the systems carefully, technicians try to identify and ward off trouble spots in the system before they create full-blown crises. Sherry Graham is the director of the Control Center. She explains a few of the typical emergencies.
We can have a big network outage across campus, and that creates an emergency, or our mail services may go down, or people can't access the UNC web pages.
The heart of the center is gray, chilly, and full of powerful computers. For instance, this Sun computer is stacked with hard drives. The technicians, they can be found in the small control room. If they can't fix problems quickly, you might not be able to register for your classes, find a book in the library, or even buy a snack at the snack bar. The university is dependent on technology for its day-to-day function, and glitch-free computers keep everybody happy. Nicolina Shine says she doesn't often use the internet for research. Still, when the computers fail, she isn't happy.
Since the libraries are online, that would be really awful.
But she says she knows about the control center.
So I guess they're the ones whom I would call and tell them to get it done.
When you do have a computer problem, call in and report it immediately. The number is 962-HELP. I'm Lee Ellen Martz, Carolina Week.
You can also check the status of the university's computer systems on the internet at help.unc.edu.
And just ahead, will this weekend be sunny?
Our forecast when Carolina Week returns.
The second floor of Davis is where students go to pseudo-study. No real studying occurs here. Girls sit in the cushy chairs to scope out guys as they come up the stairs. I've never witnessed the exam break streaking that occurs there, but I'd like to see it before I graduate. No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
Women's Center, may I help you?
The Women's Center is a nonprofit agency that has served as a meeting place for women in the Triangle since 1979, making it one of the oldest freestanding women's centers in the country. The mission of the Women's Center is to provide a supportive community where all women can inspire each other to grow, both personally and professionally.
I was going through a crisis at home, and I contacted Helpline, and they referred me directly to the Women's Center.
I think the Women's Center is really important for the community because it offers so many different kinds of resources, and if we don't have the resource here, we can find an avenue or a way for women to find the answers that they need.
It is inspiring. It's so exciting to be a part of something that really matters and really changes things.
You can support the Women's Center through membership or by sending a contribution to the Women's Center, 210 Henderson Street, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27514.
Are we going to be able to play any baseball or golf this weekend, Kimberly?
Or do we have thunderstorms to look forward to?
Well, it looks like both of y'all are going to be happy. One's not going to be happy, and the other one is. So we'll check that out later in our forecast. Right now, we're going to have our weather question, and be careful of this one because this one is a little tricky. What is the #1 weather-related killer in the U.S.? Is it A, hurricanes, B, tornadoes, C, lightning, or D, flash floods? Our answer will come at the end of our forecast. Well, there's no question of what you see here. These tornadoes, they're scary, they're powerful, and the most deadly occur in Tornado Alley. But they can also form anywhere, and the worst is in the densely populated areas of our country. One tornado myth is always keeping your windows closed. I mean, to actually keep them open, but you know what? That's a myth. The real fact is that closing them and opening has no chance because these winds can damage anything. All right, now for a little change of scenery, let's look at a place outside the U.S., Havana, Cuba. Cubans are enjoying nice sunny skies with an average temperature of 76 degrees. On February the 28th, we've got 3 visiting scholars from Cuba who are going to speak on African American studies. And actually, some of our journalism professors will also be in Cuba during spring break. Now let's look ahead into our forecast. We have a high pressure system to dominate our weather for the next several days, which most of us are pretty happy about. We have sunny skies and warm temperatures, but we have a weak weather disturbance which approaches the area on Sunday, bringing what you see here, a little bit of scattered showers and storms. Our warm weather will continue after this system passes. Now, if you're traveling, the mountains and the beaches are going to look good. For our mountain forecast, we have pretty nice temperatures of 60 to 65 degrees and some low temperatures of 40 to 45 with mostly cloudy, mostly sunny, whichever if you're optimistic or pessimistic, it could be cloudy or sunny. Anyway, if you're going to go to the beach, which is a very popular destination for spring break, we're going to have 70 to 75 degrees, which is a pretty good temperature in February. And our lows are only going to be 45 to 50. And again, partly sunny, partly cloudy skies, no big rain in the forecast for the beachers. Well, you've had a few minutes to think about it, so let's look at our question of the day again. Our answer is actually D, flash floods. These floods have an average of 146 deaths annually. So Jacqueline, Fred, did y'all get the answer right? What'd you think?
I would have never guessed lightning, but I guess flash floods.
Well, you know, lightning is actually one of the big killers in North Carolina.
Hurricanes.
And hurricanes actually produce a lot of our flash floods that we had last semester.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks,
So we'll be able to play a little bit of baseball this weekend, at least part-time. Speaking of baseball, Carolina baseball is beginning the season on a winning note as their bats are doing some talking.
Coming up in sports, we'll find out about a freshman who was in the middle of all this early season success.
I need a break.
Yeah, well, what I need is a little peace and quiet when I come home. I've been working hard all day.
You have got to do something about that son of yours. I can't stand it anymore.
Well, maybe if you were a better mother, he wouldn't be such a problem.
Better mother? When do you ever spend time with him?
Family Counseling Service of Durham. We can help. Call 286-3757.
Let your knowledge grow at the North Carolina Botanical Garden. Through public service, research, conservation, and education. The garden brings North Carolina's rich natural heritage to you. It's a beautiful way to learn.
Well, TD, it looks like UNC's men's basketball team is going to have to do without one of their big men permanently now.
Yeah, Fred and Jacqueline, even though he's not on the court, Brian Bergsticker can't stay out of the news. Last week, the student body elections, and this week, a major announcement. As the inconsistency continues for Carolina men's basketball team this season, the program announces his thinness up front will also continue. Brian Bergsticker will apply to the NCAA for a medical red shirt. The red shirt ensures the end of Bersticker's season, but he will most likely be granted an extra year of eligibility. The program had hoped that Bergsticker would return by the beginning of February, but his broken left foot has not responded to treatment as anticipated. Bergsticker averaged 5 points in the 5 games he played this season. The Carolina women's swimming and diving teams recaptured the Atlantic Coast Conference title this weekend after dethroning defending champion Virginia. The Tar Heels last won this championship in 1996. Katie Hathaway led the Tar Heels effort by first winning the 100-yard breaststroke Friday and then edging out Maryland's Jill Martin in the 200-yard breaststroke the next day. Another big win, Summer Mack in the 200-yard backstroke, breaking a school record before a packed house. In team point standings, the Tar Heels were followed by Virginia, Clemson, Maryland, and Florida State, while NC State won the 3-meter diving event but took 6th overall. As for Duke, well, I guess they swim about as well as they play football, as the Blue Devils came in dead last. The Tar Heels have nabbed the championship 13 times in 22 years. The Carolina women's gymnastics team has only 3 scheduled home meets this season, one of which took place last Friday night. The Tar Heels defeated James Madison, taking first place in all 4 individual events. Junior Brooke Wilson placed first in the all-around competition, her 3rd overall win of the season. Wilson also won the floor exercise and took second in 2 other events. Sophomore Monica Middleton won both the vault and the balance beam, while senior Julie Pasqualini placed first on the bars. Now back to Brooke Wilson. During her floor exercise, she landed the first double back with a full twist in Carmichael Auditorium history. What exactly is that? And Carolina will host William & Mary Friday at Carmichael's starting at 7 p.m. Staying with the home opener theme, the Carolina lacrosse team is 1-0 after beating Fairfield 12-11 on Sunday. Junior Jeff Sonke scored 3 goals to go with 2 assists, while Chase Martin found the net twice. Carolina is back in action this weekend as the Heels host the 21st-ranked Butler Bulldogs on Saturday. While the gymnastics and lacrosse teams are just starting their home schedules, the Carolina wrestling home season is over. The Tar Heels dominated James Madison 28-6 on Saturday. UNC won all but 2 matches. The victories include senior Jamie Grodel's 5-4 decision and his last match at Carmichael. Carolina now turns its attention to the ACC Championships on March 4th at Maryland. Carolina baseball heads into this week's games ranked 4th in the nation by Collegiate Baseball News. The team's rise in the polls is due to a 3-game weekend sweep of UCLA, who was then ranked number 2. The first game of the series included a 13-run 9th-inning rally for the Tar Heels, who came back to win 17-13. Freshman Sean Farrell won the ACC Player of the Week award, going 5 for 10 in the UCLA series with 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. Farrell says he's enjoying the success.
Contribution to such a team right now, and I really feel that this team could go a long way, and this team's doing a great job.
And finally in sports, the North Carolina High School boys basketball playoffs continue this weekend. Here's a schedule of games involving teams in the area. Friday's 4A Section 3 finals will match the winner of Garner and Durham Riverside against the Raleigh-Millbrook-Broughton winner. Friday's Sectional 4 finals will match the winner of the Durham-Jordan and Inloan game against the winner in the matchup between Leesville Road and Wake Forest Roseville. Going to 3A play, Friday's sectional finals will match the Southern Durham Greensboro Dudley winner against the winner of Eden Mooreshead game with East Chapel Hill, excuse me. So we have not only those high school basketball games going on this weekend, but also in the area, the ACC Men's Swimming Championships are here on campus.
Okay, so we'll be on the lookout for that. Thanks for sports, TD.
Thanks, TD.
If airline prices are grounding your plans for spring break, you want to hang around for our next story.
One airline is offering cheap fares, but no frills. You might have to pack a lunch, but you may save some money. The story after this. While you're getting yourself sufficiently bronzed, you might want to be checking into spring break getaway flights. It's easy to get flight information for all the major airlines, and now there are more flights out of RDU to choose from. Southwest Airlines is offering new flights to Florida and other destinations. The No Frills airline began serving RDU last summer and doesn't make saying goodbye any easier, but perhaps a bit cheaper.
That's all for this week's edition of Carolina Week. I'm Fred Shropshire.
And I'm Jacqueline McClary. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night.